The next section on the worksheet just wants us to isolate the variable or solve each formula for the indicated variable. And it tells us which variable it wants us to isolate. So in this case, it wants us to isolate for the variable m. So if you're given this first example here, divide both sides by a. And I get that m is equal to f over a. My a's are looking like 9s today. So that is the first example. The next example, the Pythagorean theorem, wants us to isolate a. So we first subtract b squared from both sides, leaving us with c squared minus b squared equaling a squared. Then I take the square root of both sides, leaving me with a equaling the square root of c squared minus b squared. We cannot take the square root of those two terms because they're separated by a subtraction symbol. So again, it wants us now to isolate the variable b. Like I did in the previous video, I want to get rid of the fraction. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, leaving me with 2a equaling base times the height. Then I want to isolate b, so I divide both sides by h, telling me that b is equal to 2 times the area divided by the height. Next example is a little bit more difficult because now we're dealing with 9 over 5. Not so easy to get rid of 9 over 5 when you're trying to isolate. In this case, it wants us to isolate c. When you have to get rid of this one, in this case, you don't have to multiply by 5 over 9 times everything. What is easier for a lot of students, or in a lot of cases, is to multiply everything times 5. So that means I'm going to multiply all 3 terms times 5. So 5 times f is 5f. 9 over 5 times 5 just leaves me with 9 times c. And then 32 times 5 is 160. Right? Because 5 times 30 is 150 and 5 times 2 is 10. Add them together. 150 plus 10 is 160. Now we can take the steps to isolate or solve for c. So I'm going to first subtract 160, leaving me with 5f minus 160 equals 9c. And then I divide everything by 9, leaving me with c being isolated, and we have 5f minus 160 over 9. Now you could write that as 5 over 9 times f minus 160 over 9. That's fine as well. Either way, you're going to end up with fractions all over the place regardless.